Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam has postponed her annual policy address as she heads to Beijing for talks. The address was initially scheduled for Wednesday when Chinese President Xi Jinping visits Shenzhen. Mrs. Lam says that she now plans to deliver the address by the end of next month.
I cannot see an early recovery in those economies. Whereas in the mainland of China, because they have controlled the epidemic in a very effective way, so the economy has already rebounded, as we have seen from the Q2 figures and likely in the third quarter figures. And Hong Kong's economy is always closely related to the mainland economy. For the last 40 years, when the country pursued reform and opening up, Hong Kong enterprises were the first to go into the mainland to invest. And when the mainland economy continues to open up, Hong Kong plays a very effective role of being the connector. That is, we connect mainland enterprises with the rest of the world. So it is an indisputable fact that Hong Kong's economic growth is very related to what we are going to do in our work with the mainland economy. And so there are several measures that I have proposed for the central government to consider.
Mrs. Lam says that she's delaying the policy address until after China's fifth plenum, and that's possibly the date that she gave was towards the end of November, possibly. China's fifth plenum, of course, high-level meeting of China, of China state leaders to chart the country's economic and political direction for the next 5 years. That takes place October 26th and 29th, towards the end of this month. Now, Mrs. Lam says that the policy address is a very important one here for the city, especially the 2020 policy address. She says she wants to instill more confidence in the people of Hong Kong, particularly after a tough year of social unrest, COVID-19, as well as international sanctions being placed on the city. That's why she put forward wide-ranging economic and livelihood policies and initiatives to the Central People's Government to consider. And the central authorities recently responded back to her, saying that the best way forward was for her to go to Beijing with her senior officials to explain them personally at the end of this month. So she's hoping for positive approvals for these various initiatives that she wants to incorporate into the policy address, so hence the delay. Now, earlier, though, it was reported that it was a clash of schedules, and President Xi Jinping in Shenzhen, of course, takes precedent. Mrs. Lam scheduled, of course, to make her annual policy address on Wednesday in the Legislative Council, 11 a.m. That same time in the morning, President Xi Jinping will be attending a grand celebration of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone, of course. Shenzhen is just across the border from Hong Kong, and both the leaders of not just Hong Kong but Macau have been invited to attend. Now, Mr. Xi is expected to deliver a very important speech where he is expected to stress the country's commitment to reform as well as opening up. His visit, of course, just comes just ahead of China's fifth plenum, a meeting, of course, that, as I mentioned, is very important economically and politically speaking.